In these complex times, brands have no choice but to move with the speed of culture and technology. However, that's still not enough these days. In fact, recognizing the need to stay ahead of that curve prompted the world's largest beauty company with several iconic brands under it to do something truly disruptive. And so a few years ago, L'Oreal decided to go from being a pure beauty company to a beauty tech company, with India playing a pivotal role in that growth journey. I'm Delshad, Irani, and in this episode of Media Dialogues with Storyboard 18, we have Aseem Kaushik, Managing Director of L'Oreal India, who gives us the inside view of how the global beauty juggernaut is leveraging technology in everything from its product to marketing and media strategies. Hello and welcome to CNBC TV18. Aseem, it's lovely to have you on the show.
Thank you, Delshad. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to be on your show. Thank you so much.
I'm so glad because there's so much to talk about, so much happening at L'Oreal. But let me just sort of kick off with a slightly sort of big picture, broader question here and ask you, how has the year fared for L'Oreal? You took over, of course, in January 2023, so it's been almost a year now. How has the company fared, specifically when we speak about the Indian market? And where does India stand in L'Oreal's global scheme of things?
You know, the beauty market in India is very, very buoyant now. In fact, it's growing anywhere closer to between 10 to 12%, depending on the channel we are talking about. Much more dynamic online, but offline still continues to be very, very buoyant as well and continues to grow. As you know that the online market in India for beauty is about 17% of the total beauty market in India. And it's growing almost at twice the speed of the offline market. And of course, in this very dynamic market, L'Oreal, being a pure beauty company, and that's what we do for a living. Of course, it's not just beauty, but beauty tech company now,
right.
More and more. We've been doing extremely well in the last, couple of months, etc., for this entire year. And we're growing twice as fast as the market and almost all the categories which we operate in.
And the festive season, of course, how did that fare for you? And wedding season, prime time for companies like L'Oreal. How is it faring for you?
The festive season has been a great surprise because the way the market, which was already dynamic, in fact, went off to a great festive start, and fronted by the e-commerce players, the big days, etc., which happened during this time.
So the L'Oreal's global management, of course, said that L'Oreal India was at about 500 million euros in 2022 and will reach €1 billion in the foreseeable future. When is that foreseeable future? What are you doing to sort of get to that mark?
So clearly, the expectations from a market like India are always very high from the group level because it's a market which is very dynamic, and we expect this market to continue to grow at least a 10% CAGR in the next at least 3 years. And the mandate for L'Oreal in this beauty market is to grow 2 times the market. So if you do the math, hopefully between the next 3 to 5 years, we should be a €1 billion company in India. That's what our objective is.
And where are you seeing the growth coming from? Can you tell me a little bit about sort of, where are you seeing, potential that you're unlocking, whether it's markets, consumers? And then let me also ask you, what makes the Indian consumer unique? So first, let's take the question about where you're seeing the next level of growth coming from.
So you have to know that. So let's put the beauty market in context first, right? So beauty market in India is estimated to be about 6.5 billion euros in total in 2023. That's the expected size of the market which we have. And of course, beauty market in India, and I'm talking only beauty and not beauty and personal care.
Right.
All right. So beauty market, the biggest category in beauty market is skincare, which is about 30%. And then you followed by hair care, which is about 20%. And then followed by, makeup at 15% and hair oil at about 16, 17%. And then it's followed by hair color at about 10%. And then you have smaller categories like fragrances, hygiene, body, etc., which are part of the whole story, right? So this 6.5 million itself, what we expect is going to grow to almost a 9 billion euro in the next 3 years' time by 2026, right? Which means that what is it being led by? It is going to be led by almost all categories being very, very dynamic. Why I say that? Why I say that is very clearly because if you look at today, the beauty consumption per capita in India is about $7.5, and you compare that to, for example, Indonesia, it's about 20.
So much headroom.
So there is so much for the Indian consumer to firstly get to know, understand what their particular beauty needs are. Is it a problem which they're looking for as a solution, whether when they're talking about their skincare or hair in category is concerned, or they're looking for trends which are latest, which are happening in Paris or in New York, etc., or the celebrity they're trying to follow on a larger level, etc.
And the epicenters of beauty are changing as well.
Yeah. So the idea is, almost 30% of the consumers in India, the relevant target set, because that's also very important because we are a 1.4 billion population country. So we're a very big country. So you have to keep focus when you're looking at what is the kind of consumer you're going after. So for L'Oreal in India, very clearly, what we look at is a consumer who's earning more than $20 a day. All right, and we estimate that they're close to almost 250 million consumers. So you're talking about 25 crore consumers who could be your larger universe, if you want to say that.
Right.
And this larger universe is almost at the same spending level in terms of per capita consumption as Indonesia, for example, or what China was about 15 years ago.
Right.
And 70% of the consumption of this market in urban India happens with this 250 million consumers overall. So there is a huge opportunity both from increasing the number of routine or regime at the consumer's end,
right,
and for them to also upgrade to more innovative, more effective products in the country. So it's going to be both penetration and also valorization, as we call it,
right,
for the consumers in times to come. And that is why we're very hopeful that this market is going to be continuing to be super dynamic at about 10% CAGR, etc. So we have a huge task. What we call ourselves is that we want to be very clearly, the strategy is to be the beauty advisor to India.
We are also witnessing this immense digital surge in the country right now. And you mentioned, of course, this sort of huge play that L'Oreal made to stay ahead of the curve, essentially, which is moved from a pure play beauty company to a beauty tech play. Tell me a little bit more about that. How is that working out for you? And how is perhaps India setting a sort of benchmark globally for L'Oreal?
So the great thing about coming back to India in January for me was to find that today the India consumer is super hyper connected to digital world. They are, they are the digital natives who see everything which is happening around the world at the same time as anyone else. And there is the opportunity of e-commerce which pans out in front of us, right? So these were one of the two biggest barriers which probably we faced as a company trying to establish beauty business in India over the last 30 years. Because the consumer we're looking at, about 250 million as we was talking about, was all spread out across a lot of towns, a lot of cities, and even in rural areas, right? You've got affluent consumers everywhere. So the big barrier for us was with our brands, with our kind of innovative products, how do you reach them? How do you talk to them about what we bring to them or could bring to them to solve either their concerns on skin and hair or to bring them the latest trends which was happening. So all this is now is a huge opportunity which has been solved as a barrier because today you've got almost everyone who's connected digitally. The data prices in India are probably the lowest in the world. So now the big challenge is that how do you build your brands and its equity and its proposition online, right? So for us, this is a great opportunity because L'Oreal as a group, it was, and we've been doing beauty for almost the last 100 years. In 2010, we rechristened ourselves as beauty tech company because we could see, so there is something in L'Oreal which is called sees when it starts. All right, so it's about any trend when it starts is what you have to be part of, and you have to ride it, and you have to actually make it bigger. So
you're not playing catch up. You're not
exactly.
You're not following trends.
So in 2010 is when we were looking at rechristening ourselves as beauty tech, and nobody understood why would we call ourselves a beauty tech. Are we kind of expanding into
what does it
IT?
mean, right?
What are we going to do? And the fact is that today the big thing in online and the digital world when you're talking to your consumers is to help them to reach a similar experience as what they would have in offline, whether it is about trying products, whether it is about augmented reality, whether it is about virtual reality, whether it is about things like advocacy for that matter, where there is a lot of advice and also trends which are generated which they can follow, etc. So L'Oreal has always been ahead of the curve. We've got most of the places around the world today, the virtual try-ons with e-commerce, where experiencing the product, how will it look on my face or skin, etc., is the big barrier, right? So most of the virtual try-ons now in most of the e-commerce players across the world are powered by L'Oreal ModiFace, right? And if you look at this, and if you look at other services, we call them digital services, for getting to know what kind of skin you have, what are your possible skin concerns, at what level of damage your skin has. All that can happen now virtually.
Hold on to that thought, Aseem, because we're going to take a quick break and be right back to talk about how the world's largest beauty company is leveraging technology to stay on top and accelerate growth for years to come.